And hello. There's Esther.
Always right as I'm doing something, right as I took a drink.
Esther has a protein water over there. She was afraid of the orangey color, but it is all natural coloring.
Pretty bright.
Well, we are here. Esther has some things to discuss. So we shall listen in.
And by that, he means I have some questions asked that he can discuss.
Oh,
My
okay.
talking. Minimal.
No, I wouldn't say minimal when you're asking questions. I definitely want it to be a conversation.
Correct, but you know, doesn't take a complicated question to get you on a roll.
Dang, you think I'm just gonna be talking about stuff?
Well, here's the thing. The theme is
Okay.
entrepreneurship.
Okay, entrepreneurship.
Large word. Had to say it real slowly.
Had to really extend it so she could get all the.
My brain this past week has been a little chaotic. My speaking has been rough.
Not as chaotic as how low you speak on that.
Hey, it's a little better right now.
Is it?
I'm sure it'll get there, isn't it? I thought
maybe
so.
a little bit.
I was thinking about it a little.
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, so let's start.
Okay, let's.
By a little explanation of what it means to be an entrepreneur.
Do you want a definition? Because I could look up a definition.
Sure.
I mean,
look up a definition
like
and then give us your
there.
thoughts on the definition.
My father likes to go to the old dictionary, the 1828 Webster, and I want to see if that word's even in there. Just because I would sometimes laugh. I mean, I'm sure this word's going to be in there, but I would laugh because Dad loves this dictionary, and I'm like, well, it doesn't even have a lot of the words we have now. So anyway, entrepreneurship. One who organizes, manages, and assumes the risks of a business or enterprise. So that is the definition of entrepreneurship. No, entrepreneur. And then underneath it says entrepreneurship. And you can kind of keep going down. And then they have some things like characteristics of entrepreneurs, stuff like that. But let's look
What did it say? Did it say manages?
Manages and assumes the risk. Now let's just go meaning and let's see what pops up. I want to see the difference between this older, more classic sort of definition and now something now. Let's see. Entrepreneurship is when an individual who has an idea acts on that idea. Usually to disrupt the current market with a new product or service. Entrepreneurship usually starts as a small business, but the long-term vision is much greater. To seek high profits and capture market share with an innovative new idea. That wasn't like straight from a dictionary. That was kind of what pops up right away if you type in. Let's see exactly what I typed. Entrepreneurship meaning. So there's that. So if that's what you were asking, I just read it.
What was the starting part of the one you just Googled? Something about having an idea.
Oh, the one that just popped up on Google?
The top part, just the first line.
Entrepreneurship is when an individual who has an idea acts on that idea. Usually to disrupt the current market with a new product or service.
Right. I feel like people just take that first bit and think that if they have like a thought on something or an idea that they're like, ooh, some big shot. But it's more, it seems to be more the manager type in the like, okay, you start something from nothing, make a business type of thing. I think a lot of people consider themselves an entrepreneur, but they're really
think people have cheapened entrepreneurship?
I think
or the
so.
word or the meaning?
It's definitely, the word is tossed around a lot.
But it seems like quite a simple thing to me. If you take the legitimate explanation.
Yes, but like influencers like to think they're an entrepreneur. And
one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or enterprise.
And I think, like, I wouldn't consider like a random influencer that. Because that can be anybody.
Okay,
just film a video, throw it online. That doesn't mean you know stuff.
But what
or have a new idea and are paving the way or nothing. I think most people, like men on the
Most
no
men.
offense. No, not most men.
Most men.
Most like, you know,
No, go ahead.
those business young
Mm.
Instagram people. They're like, how to become self-made entrepreneur like
Oh, I see.
me. And it's like, bro, you just quit your job to make videos. You're not
What if
special.
they make a ton of money doing that though? Do you think money is part of the definition that you're, because you clearly have a preconceived thing. You listen to the definitions, but
I definitely think there's legit people, and that's where it started. And then I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, I can do that. That seems fun to work your own hours and manage your own time, but most people
oh,
can't
you think people are doing
successfully
it and then
do that to make themselves.
So you think
a
people
living.
are doing it and then not actually earning money doing it, like don't quit your day job?
Yeah.
Okay. But is it just money then? Is
No.
it just attached to money?
And I'm not trying to diss people. I'm just saying I think a lot of
I'm just
people
listening.
use that word too.
So you think
freely.
the word has been cheapened and thrown around, and some people are saying it when they're not it. Okay. Since you have the questions, I don't want to extrapolate a bunch on one individual thing. So I think we answered the definition. You didn't ask me my personal opinion on it. So we've done the definition.
I actually
And
did. I asked you to look up and then give me your thoughts on it. But then you started asking me questions about
Well,
it.
I gave my thoughts on the definition and what you had said.
All
Are
right.
you asking for like
All right, then
George's definition?
No, I just was seeing if you thought that was a good explanation of it.
I think it's a pretty good explanation. I mean, I wouldn't want to try to define it differently than the dictionary.
Wise man. I overheard two people discussing. They were kids, so let me preface with that so somebody doesn't think this person's dumb. But they were talking about procrastinating, and the kid was like describing it perfectly and was like, "It's when you like have something to do, you put it off to the last minute, blah blah blah." And the other one was just like, "No, wrong," but wouldn't say what they thought it meant, but were just like, "That's."
They wanted to disagree.
And then the other one was like, "Well, that's the definition," and she was like, "That's your definition." She's like, "No, that is the definition."
That's the thing. Truth is truth. So
I was like, "Yep, she's right."
If we're talking about the definition of a word, I like to look it up. I'm not someone that sits around and memorizes that information. Some people do, and that's great, but that's not me. And so the definition, I want the definition. So I'm happy to look it up.
Okay, so let's get personal here.
Okay.
In what started you on the journey, or when did you think of yourself as an entrepreneur, and what drew you to that?
I don't use that word a lot.
But many people say that of you. You don't go around saying that of yourself, which is the people that I'm like, don't be saying that so much.
Oh, so you think it's better that I don't like lead with that or whatever?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
I mean, what I do say sometimes, it's not a generality or something that I use a lot, but when it's asked of me, I do use the phrase, I'm more of a businessman than a musician. So musician, a lot of my businesses deal with education, and one of them deals largely with music. And so obviously people think me as a musician, and I am a musician. I'm just saying I view myself as more of a businessman than a musician. I personally enjoy it more. I personally do it more than like personal practice time of my own to perfect something. I practice a lot of instruments all the time, but I think my main goal is the business side of it. So what started me on it? Very young, very, very young. It always had to do with services rather than products. Those two words were thrown up in the definition. So products and services. I was always a services type of thing. The one common thread through all the crazy stuff that I've done always seemed to be teaching that thing. At a very, very young age, I taught art. People would come to my house, my parents' house where I lived. I was freaking 13 or something. And people would come to the house to take lessons like once a week, multiple people. So I'd have a lesson and they would just come, and my parents were like, yeah, you can just do it right here in the front room. And people would from the neighborhood walk to my house, and their parents would pay me, and I would teach them how to paint. I mean, so that started at a very young age. I think I keep making the age younger. I was definitely young, but maybe like 15, 16 maybe. I know I say 13 a lot, but it was very young. It could have been. I'm sure I could ask my mom for photos.
I think I still have a little pocket invoice book that has some dates on it, so maybe I'll have to look back.
Yeah, there's definitely some cool old stuff that I have where it was like handwritten little receipts and invoices. I sold paintings at like garage sales, like weird stuff like that. Little art shows I would do. before I did the music, which is a main thing in what I do now, was art. Art was definitely the first one, the first service that I kind of sold, so to speak. I did group art classes. I'd go to people's houses and teach, and this is young, this is sub 20. And then the one-on-one type art class was sub 18, 17, and so I guess what started me on it was at a very young age. I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to work for myself, so to speak, but I also always wanted to have people that worked with me. That's what I say of my employees. They're legitimate employees, right? They're W-2 people, but I always say they work with me, and that's very important to me, and I'm pretty careful about saying it that way, is that people don't work for me, they work with me, and that's very important to me. And I'm not sure exactly why I brought that up. I guess now I'm just talking about now moving forward into the future. So I do think a big part of entrepreneurship is having people that work with you, having a team. I don't personally like, so this is now just an opinion, I don't personally like as much the entrepreneurship where it's just by yourself. I'm not dissing it in any way. I'm just, again, an opinion of my own. I really like a team, a group. Rising tides raise all ships. I like to think that I'm able to help other people. So that's very important to me. So just talking about entrepreneurship in general, I personally think that they actually started calling it something else. They call it solopreneur or solo. Yeah, there's a word let me look it up. I think solopreneur, because entrepreneur usually ends up meaning a business is usually with employees.
Yeah.
And so solopreneur, I think that's a word. Solopreneur. Simply put, a solopreneur is a person who sets up a business of which they are the sole employee. So people started defining it more kind of like how you wish people didn't throw around the word so easily. They started actually making other words. Someone drop shipping whatever online. If it's just them, that's a solopreneur. I am more proud and more happy with what I've done to make money than the amount of money that I've made. I think it's really cool that music and art and all this stuff, most people selling some sort of course online or doing some sort of thing, it's always like, I post faceless TikTok videos and I make $50,000. Like, that's cool, but for me, it's not about the money. Of course, I have to earn a living and survive and purchase things and all those sorts of great things. But I am more happy with what I've done it with. There's so many bad ways to make money now. And tons of people do it because a lot of people are doing it just for the money. And there's other things I could do that could make more money, but I'm very loyal. I'm loyal to a fault. And I stick with things for a long time. One of the places that I worked started offering one of my services. Other than them employing me, they were also offering one of my services. And I kind of had this feeling like I have to stay or else they would cancel this service that they're offering of mine. And I actually walked into a meeting and the boss was like, are you kind of sticking around just because you think we'll cancel your service that we also use? And I said, 50-50. I said, I do kind of feel like that. And she just brought it up. And she's like, and she wasn't trying to get rid of me. She's like, you're doing a good job, but it feels like you could. This was actually a great story. She basically told me your time is better served elsewhere on your own endeavors. Like, do you want to put someone in your place here and keep the business going, but you move on? And so that was also a really cool thing. And I think that's another thing of entrepreneurship on a different level. I think you're thinking of entrepreneurship on a different level. So we have a new word here that we're using, solopreneur. We have entrepreneur. And I think being able to create systems and step out of a role is a huge piece of entrepreneurship that is very necessary. And interpersonal relationships and having people that want to step into that role is what I find to be the most exciting and the most fun with entrepreneurship is the teams. So I answered like 50,000.
That's what I'm talking about with once you get him going, he can go. Also, I was getting very sidetracked. Do you hear your voice tinging off something in here?
Oh, yeah.
Like an instrument or something?
Oh, yeah. Lots of vibrations.
And I hear something vibrating.
So you didn't have anything to say about what I said. You just got distracted.
Yes, I was solely figuring out
No,
what is
come on.
that
You
and
have
can I
something
stop it
You
from
have
doing
something
that?
you thought of, I hope.
I was thinking of what my next question was going to be.
Oh, wow.
Because you're usually
Not a good question here.
You're usually
Not a good interviewer.
Now hear me out. You're correct. But you're usually the question asker.
Oh.
And
Oh, but just
so
but
I'm
try to bounce
trying
off
to.
maybe
I'm really
one,
bad at asking questions.
try and maybe bounce off one of the things that I said or extend the convo
Oh boy.
off of something that I said before we move on to the next one. Just maybe a one back and forth. Because of course I want to hear what you're thinking.
Well, one thing that I was thinking when you were talking about like drop shippers and different stuff and how you do it, not purely for the money, but you just like
Correct.
all that, which kind of says why all of your endeavors have been more services rather than products. Because a lot of time products are just like, there's only so much you can invent with a product because there's literally something for everything already. So it's like, there's not a lot of, this thing will really help people.
Yeah.
But services, it's like,
I love.
I mean, I guess there's not really new stuff to do for services, but it just feels
I'm not
like
doing
it's
anything
more
new.
It's more beneficial to somebody than an item that they might use or not
depends on what
use.
the product is. Depends on what the product is. But speaking on the drop shipping side of things, usually it's cheaper stuff that you can flip quick. But it was interesting. I love marketing and I'm a big marketer and graphic design and how things look. I'm interested in that stuff. I enjoy that stuff. But someone said recently that I work with, they were like, well, marketing is just a scam. And he said, well, marketing, if you have to market, it means that you have to oversell what you're doing and make it sound better than it is. And in theory, this is true. I mean, he was going a little bit overboard, but I still technically agree with what he's saying. He's like, look, if your service, your product, if what you're selling is good enough, word of mouth will spread. And the answer to that
but
is
not necessarily. Like if you're starting something off,
the start is difficult.
You need to be able to tell people this exists now. But also, I mean, there's only so far word of mouth can spread.
In this day and age, with how quick stuff can spread with just one little video, word of mouth, social media, personal connections, because people have more of those than they've ever had. So word of mouth technically works better than it ever has.
Kind of, but it's also getting
saturated. Sure.
It's getting like people don't care if their people that they follow online tell them, oh, you should get this thing, because they do it so often now that it's like, oh, they probably don't even use that thing.
Yeah, I'm not telling
I don't really care.
I'm not talking about someone that
word of
paid
mouth,
to make an ad.
word of mouth, as in like
someone
literally it's somebody you know.
Someone tells you personally.
And if they post, word of mouth to me. I talk to somebody that I know, and then I'm like, I know this person and I trust them.
But
if they say something's good, it's good.
Okay, but wait,
if they post something random,
Instagram DM'd you and said, go to this place.
If it's still that person that I know and have a relationship with.
That's what I'm saying. So word of mouth has extended. Word of mouth has gotten more because people can reach you faster, quicker. Texting. I mean, go back, word of mouth. The phone, the texting, all these things are not old. These things are still new. Like, you and I were born before YouTube. Like, I mean, we're not old, but it's crazy to think about it that way. Like, we think that this is just normal. This is still expanding and extending all the time.
But even with it expanding, again, it can only go so far because you only know so many people. You only trust word of mouth from somebody you know.
I don't think
can only know so many
I don't
people.
think I'm like old and born before stuff and like, oh, you whippersnapper. I just wanted to clarify that I'm born before YouTube. I wasn't trying, like, it's just, it's a fact. And I mean, we're also older than the iPhone. Like, I mean, if you think about these things that notice I said iPhone and not like cell phone, Android. But imagine, just
because we're not older than a cell phone.
No, well, yes, but just think of that.
Unless we look
think
really
of that.
good.
Maps.
Oops.
Getting places quickly.
The voice is getting a little low.
So anyway, back to your original thing that you said. You talked about you were saying you don't just do it just for the money, the dropshipper type people. You had said something specific. I'm sure
we kind of moved on.
I'm
past
sure there was
that
a reason
to
we got to where we got.
Speaking
But did I
of
answer?
marketing, and you saying somebody was saying that's a scam, but I don't think so. I think a lot of people do it scammy, where they're like, oh, let's make this sound super awesome, and then it doesn't.
No, it's not
actually benefit them, because then once you get it, you don't.
Scam, but
all right,
marketing.
Never mind, I guess.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because then if you oversell it with marketing and then people get it, then they're disappointed. I like marketing that's like, maybe elaborate a little bit just because, that's what people want to hear, but not so much that when they get it, they're like, this is not what I thought. because then
Yeah, you can't oversell.
you're not going to tell somebody about it because it
not
didn't
what
live
they
up
said.
to your expectations.
Yeah, true. Interesting. No, you're right. Yeah, we did start talking more about the marketing, and I think there's truth to his statement. And he didn't just flat out say it's a scam either, but he was saying like, well, marketing is just. And then I was like, well, most businesses, one of their largest budgets is marketing. And he's like, I know, that's why I hate it. And he actually left a huge industry, a huge company inside of a huge industry, one of the biggest in the industry. And he left it because they started franchising and trying to expand in such a way that, and he just said, no, I'm out. And I had to just ask him, I said, why did you leave? It sounded like you were doing so many amazing, fun, great things. He said, I was. He said, but the principle of what we were doing and how they were changing it, he said 25 of the head people walked out of the meeting and quit that day. So it was just quite interesting. And then to hear him, of course, a guy like that who's walking out on principle, of course, is going to say he doesn't like marketing. Right. And like I said, I don't disagree with him. I think there's truth to that. So it's, not overselling something, not just trying to make a quick buck.
But a lot of
it higher. That's a more of a priority for me than, well, how can I just make a bunch of money right now? People were drop shipping face masks during COVID, and I was like, and I'm not the guy that's just gonna say, oh, make your money. Like I had somebody ask me, he said, wouldn't you do anything to be a millionaire? Wouldn't you if you were told that if you could scoop poop in this is literally what he said. He said if someone told you could pick up trash and scoop poop in this person's backyard for less amount of time than doing a normal job, wouldn't you do it? And I looked at him, I said, no. It's like, not at all. And he's like, oh, most people say yes to that. I said, I don't think they do. I mean, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I'm going to spend that time of my life doing something. I'd rather do something I like and make less money. I think that's an important piece of entrepreneurship too. I don't think, yeah, of course the long run is to hopefully make more money, work less, but that's just, everybody wants that. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to want to make more money and work less. I think that's everybody. I think we all share that sort of an idea.
And even if you didn't get there, wouldn't you be better off having done something that you like
a great
doing?
Question, a great question. I mean,
stress
I think about
be
stuff too much.
aging you and be affecting
100%.
your health.
I think about stuff too much, and I was like, if I died tomorrow and I'm saving my money and I'm putting it away and I'm investing in other things, and I'm like, would I be happy? 100% I'd do it again. 100% I would do it again. And I think it's important to like the steps you're taking, even if there's some
and to make sure you're doing a balance, because if you just saved every penny and we hadn't done anything in our life so far, then you would probably be like, well, I shouldn't have done that.
You have to have a balance, and everyone has their own.
Not too much, because most people go the other way and they're like, well, life's short, you gotta live, but then they're sad and they have daily things that they're like unhappy with, because
everyone has their own, and everyone has their own lane. And it's easy for me to sit here and say that right now, but I was reading something and a guy said, I just got diagnosed with this, disease, and it's going to kill me in a matter of months. And he, went on to say, I literally did what I was supposed to do. I eat very healthy. I'm very active. I saved all my money, prepared. I did that, invested real estate, and he goes, well, and now that I'm dying, he said, I feel like I've wasted all my time and I hate my life and I'm very sad. And it was a sad thing to read, but then I was like, it's easy for me to say right now when things are going well that I'm happy. And I do feel like that it's good that I feel that way now, but this guy didn't just, have an accident and like get hit by a car and die instantly. This guy's being told you have this much longer to live. So that's different. The question then, I guess, would be, if I really enjoy it this much, if I was told I had 3 months left to live, would I live the exact same way? And then the answer is no. I know that I wouldn't.
Yeah, but that's a big.
Well, that's
everybody's gonna live differently. If you tell me they got a couple
months. Well, what do you?
Then most responsibility leaves. You don't have to think
what
about.
Do you think?
I need to save up for this. You just literally are like, okay, I have this amount of time. I have this amount of money.
Okay,
let me do whatever.
But this is
an
interesting question. If I want you to ask me more of your questions. But like, let's say we did find that out, and I'm only gonna live for an exact amount of time, and it can change. But it's pretty much set with some sort of sickness that I get, in this made up world. And what would you want me to do? Would you want me to sell the house, take all the equity out? Would you want me to sell all of the percent of ownership I have in these businesses, trying to get as much money as possible, and you and I
Oh,
go and
boy.
do stuff, would you want to keep that house for yourself? Would you move back in with parents? I wonder what you would,
This is too much responsibility.
what would you do? Or what would you want me to do?
I don't know about all these businesses you have now. That's something I've never thought about, but my thought before you had all your hands in all these places
Mhm.
would be just because then I'd get life insurance money from
Well,
you
yeah,
passing.
if I
So I would just pay it off the house, and then I had said that I'd move in with your parents
and
and
rent this.
I'd rent it, but I probably wouldn't do that.
Hmm.
But I would have like friends move in with me
Oh,
and pay like a very low amount of rent, but like
right, because you'd be
an
pretty
amount.
much set, and you'd probably want to help people. So you'd say, pay for the lights.
yeah,
For
and
because once the house is paid off, you just have to pay the taxes once a year.
yeah,
So then because you still owe, it doesn't just go away. But
like life wise, I don't know what I would do. Like, because I'd have
if I was dead, you don't know what you would do. You're going off of if I died, not if you got given months to live.
yeah,
Okay,
because that's what you asked me.
Well, that is what I asked, but I want to make sure.
Because then
that's
it's like, do I keep working? Do I just try and invest the money that I get from your passing and live off of that? Or I wouldn't want to sit around probably all day not having something to distract me.
So you could decide. You could make the decision that I've set up this sort of work from wherever if you want, and you could actually keep the percent ownership in all these companies, and you could learn some of the skills, techniques, ideas, whatever, and you could be a manager, overseer of some kind, and continue to hold those percentages, and
It's
those would
just
pay
that
you
your
monthly.
percentages you do at least something for, or do you have stuff that you've given money towards, so you have a percent but don't actively work on?
A mix, yeah. There's a mix, but I mean, you would have an option to kind of pick that sort of thing. I mean, if it's an accident tomorrow and I'm gone, then it would be a lot of conversations, obviously. And actually, the sad thing is, we should probably think about it. You wouldn't even know exactly who to talk to.
I think I'd know who to talk to, but
Okay.
I just
on the business side of things.
On a real note, I would not be interested in thinking about any of that. So I'd probably just be like, close everything, pull out of anything because I don't have
give me any amount of money that you think it's worth.
Yeah,
and most of these guys are people that you would also trust. So you would probably
have the capacity to be like, oh, could I keep this running? Could we shift around money and numbers and have me still?
You wouldn't even want to
percent?
do that. That wouldn't even be you, because obviously you'd be sad and you'd be going through grief and all that. But I'm saying, like,
we're getting off topic.
You wouldn't want that anyway. If for some reason you were completely unfazed that I was gone. If you were for some reason completely unfazed that I was gone, you still wouldn't want to keep ownership in things and stuff. You'd be
if it was like a percentage for money you'd already given, then it would be like whatever if I just get
most
like
of the
an
business
amount of money.
I hold some sort of position.
Yeah, you do something. Maybe they would be like, oh, you're gonna have this percent because of the money that he.
That's what I think. That's what I think would probably be the best route. Is you saying like, hey, what do you think? Can I just? And these are people that we know, so they'd probably be like, yeah, keep 5, 10, whatever percent, and every quarter we'll send you something so that you're fine. And then obviously, again, these are people that we know. You'd explain that you got money. George didn't leave you with nothing. And anyway, completely off topic, super fun. And go ahead, and that's entrepreneurship stuff, though. Honestly, thinking about that type of preparation. You die at a job, well, but I have all the there's all these different things, all these different areas and pieces, and it's nice that we do have enough of a setup with people that we know, and I mean my dad and things like that it'd be able to be like, okay, here's the best route to take.
Yeah.
And that's very important, is having these mentors, these people that you look up to and respect and trust, that you don't have to be super scared or afraid of something like that coming up, because it could inevitably happen, something like that. So
we don't want that, but just in case, thoughts. All right. Anyway, you want me to bring us back to?
Yeah, bring us back. You said you like hopping around.
So next.
You've kind of slouched a little bit. You're kind of low in the camera.
Is that a problem?
Well, whoa. Now she's taller than she's ever been. You got to move the mic though. It's got to follow you. All right.
Okay, so what advice or what steps would you give to somebody who's wanting to enter into the entrepreneur mindset or who has an idea, what's like the start?
Well, the mindset would probably, the idea would come first. If someone wants to do it, they might not even have the right mindset to be able to do
Yeah,
it.
I'm talking about once they
Right.
have the idea and
Okay,
they're
so-
like, okay,
okay.
I want to do this. What do I do?
Somebody wants to and has no idea. This is the
Mhm.
person I'm talking to.
Sure.
Someone that wants to and has no idea. Number one, the finances need to be in order. Don't quit your day job. Unless you've somehow come into a large sum of money. A friend of mine had that. He started talking to me and he didn't like divulge all the information, which he wouldn't have to. But he started talking about all this stuff, and I laid out this whole kind of plan. Then he goes, "Oh, by the way, I just came into $250,000." And I said, "Buddy, you don't need to ask me about too much, bro." Like, and he's like, "No, I'm pretty much set." And I was like, "Great, like, don't let me slow you, don't let me stop you." So we're not talking about that sort of person. We're talking about someone that has the idea and then not the capacity. Have a normal job that you're doing. Try to be working a normal amount of hours per week. And that's good general information for everybody. People are different. You want to quit everything and be working 10, 12, 15 hours every day to really get something going, you can do that. But I wouldn't suggest that to a large amount of people. Since I do a lot of educating, people talk to me about college, and I didn't go to college. And then people are like, "So you're telling me not to go to college?" And I said, "No, I believe probably 80% plus. I do believe that number's coming down, in my opinion. But I believe 80% plus of people should go to college. I do still think that for most people, for the schedule, for the people think they're going for the education. It's for the schedule. It's for someone telling you what to do. And most people need that. But if you're interested in getting into the entrepreneurship stuff and doing your
but
own
it's
stuff,
also you can learn that elsewhere.
Yes,
If
you
it's
can.
for
Mhm.
just those
100%.
reasons, the amount of
Yeah.
money you pay and the
Yeah.
amount of people that are continuously paying off their student
Oh,
debt
100%.
is like insane.
No, I think it should be a community college. I think you should get the gen ed out of the way. I think you should do it as fast as possible. And you can only go to college, in my opinion, if you know exactly what you want to do. And you can only go to college for something that you have to go to college for. And you need to get the gen ed out of the way as quickly and as cost efficient as possible. Take as many credits as you can, whatever it's called. I didn't go to college. And get it done as quickly as possible, as fast as possible, as efficient as possible. Don't stay there longer. Don't switch your major. Don't do none of that. Get it done in 2 to 3 years, because you can, and depending on what you're going for. And because if you're going to be a doctor or something, the path is laid out for you. You just have to go through the steps. Okay. If you want to do that, I can't imagine anyone wanting to do that. Obviously, they're there. Obviously, we need them. Thank you. I can't imagine doing that. And so the path is there for you. You don't need to get in some sort of mindset. You just have to know the steps in front of you and walk through it. But if you're going for something, you need to know what it is and have the plan laid out before you do it. And again, that's just good general information. A lot of people think I'm supposed to go to college after high school and I'm supposed to. Don't do that. Know for yourself exactly why you're going, where you're going, and how long you're going to be there, and lay it out before you go. My personal opinion, 1 to 2 years of work between high school and college before any college. Unless you do some college in high school, great way to do it. Or if you do that gen ed in those years while you're also working. Gen ed,
just
community
going
college,
to college
working.
out of high school
Crazy.
and not working.
I can't even believe people do that.
I don't know how they live.
Well, parents are paying for it, and no diss to anybody that did it without their parents paying for it, or people that the parents did pay for it. Take advantage of it if you can. Esther's parents were paying for college, and I think you're the only one that didn't go out of your family.
Yes, but not everybody finished, but
Not
everybody
everyone
went for
finished.
a certain amount
Correct.
of time.
Everyone got some amount of money
Yeah,
to go to college, and you didn't do that, which I don't think was a good move. But that's a different conversation. So the mindset. Okay. So there was little pieces of the mindset and getting it done in the conversation I was just having. But let's get more specific right into that, which is know that it's going to take, this is just general stuff. Know that it's going to take extra work. I don't think you should quit your day job. I think you should still have money coming in. So know that you're going to be working extra hours. Be willing to put in those extra hours. Know that no one else is going to care about it as much as you do. And I think you should be trying to get people to care at least some as quickly as possible so that they can work with you on said project. I think you should not go into it 100% on your own. I really enjoy, maybe have 1 or 2 things where it's like, no, this is my thing. But most of the businesses after my main one have partners in it who are part owners. They own part of the company.
But you wouldn't necessarily be able to find that right off the bat. So
Oh no, I
maybe
think you
maybe
can.
a
No,
better
I think you
thought
can.
would be to get a mentor and somebody that's above you or has done that before,
Sure.
because you're not going to be like, "Oh, I want to do this idea.
100%.
Let me first, before I even work on it, find a partner
Yeah.
to do it."
Networking
And a
is
lot of people, like you
huge.
said, don't even want to do it with other people.
Correct.
But a
Networking is
mentor is
huge.
for everyone.
Yeah. Mentorship is for everybody. Network is huge. A lot of these businesses I wouldn't even want to do if I didn't have the partners in them. Some of these businesses have gone better because, well, I think all of them have gone better because of partners, but in one way or another, certain ones I know have gone better without me doing it by myself because I already had something else on my plate and I've still not quit the day job. I don't work 40 hours a week at any one of the jobs, but I always had a W-2 income coming in, or a 1099 if you go enough years back. Know you're going to be working extra hours. Know that not everyone's going to be super interested in the thing at the beginning. Get people interested. I do believe that that is important. Learn from someone else who's done it before. Like we said before, nothing's new under the sun. So find someone that's done it. Mentorship, talk to them, call them, tell them you'll do free, extra, more stuff for them. Just, hey, let me be around, let me learn. I did a lot of that. And sometimes I got burned for it, of course, and I would do it again. And I'm sure we'll have days and times to talk about that. So that would be the start, I would say. Get it started sooner rather than later. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Stuff like that. General stuff, stuff people say all the time. The people that Esther doesn't like say stuff like that all the time. But I try to do it a little more practical. You're not going to make $1 million at the beginning. Don't. A lot of people, it looks like, oh, they blew up super recently. They've been working on it for years, behind the scenes. Take your time. Enjoy, like I said, if I somehow died tomorrow, I would be happy with the time that I spent. So make sure you're enjoying the time working on it, because like I said, tomorrow doesn't exist. So you got to make sure that you're enjoying working on it. Pick something that you like. Like I said, I do not highly respect the people that are like, yeah, I make 10, 20, 30, $40,000 a month on this thing and I hate it. You could do that as a salesman with commission at any old job.
But also, you could do that for a certain amount of time, make that money, and then do something that you like. So
Yeah.
it's just,
Again, I don't think the time trade is worth it if it's just for money.
if you hate it. But if you're just like, this is not enjoyable, but
yeah, it would still be hard
not
for me to do it.
necessarily
But
to be-
I'm not a great person to ask that question, because I have thoroughly enjoyed everything that I've done. There's pieces of all of it that I hate. I won't deny that, but I've always enjoyed it. I mean, I guess I'll ask Esther, does it seem like I've always enjoyed the things that I'm doing?
Yeah.
Seemed like not a very confident yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's
But,
pieces of all of it that I don't
I
like.
mean,
I'm not going to
There's
pretend.
some people who don't even know if you're like, well, what would you like to do? They're like, no, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, but you already said that this person was already knowing what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're talking about my original thought.
Yeah. All right.
But one of the best
Mhm.
or most beneficial things that you said, which I feel like a lot of people don't realize, is you're going to be spending more time. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I want to do my own thing and be able to control my hours and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that
That comes
later.
after
Quite a ways.
you put a lot of work into it.
Yeah, I have people that have worked with me that'll say oh, I just want to work. They'll even be like, I want to work 20 hours a week and just make enough. People that aren't as ambitious on the money side, because I am still ambitious on the money side. It's not number one, but of course I want that. It's a factor of even saying that it worked, But I have people that are like, oh, can I just work less and also make less, but still make enough? What's enough? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And I don't, that bothers me. That bothers me, because people will see me working less and making more. And then they're like, well, I want to do that. And I said, well, I've technically been working on stuff like this for about 10 years. It's technically been shorter than that, but I've been thinking like that this whole time. I've been working on things like that this whole time. I just, instead of what I could have done and what some people have done, drop everything and just give it a shot. So I could have shortened this more 10-year timeline into 3 or 4 years, but I'm happy with what I have done. And there's other pieces to it. Don't sell your soul to this entrepreneurship business stuff. I'm married. lot of friends, a lot of people, a lot of hangout time, and I wouldn't trade that. I like that a lot. And some people aren't interested in that, but I think that you should be to some degree. So, my health is probably better than it's been. My fitness and my weight is way better than it's been. I lost 40 pounds in 70 days. It's more about that. It's more about the free time and stuff. It's not about having a ton of money. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, not married or difficult marriages. Some people think it's just going to get better, right? We have more time to spend together. Well, if you don't have the other stuff right, if you don't have the relational stuff right, having more time is actually going to make it worse. And we saw that proved when people were at home and lockdown stuff during COVID, because there was a lot of difficult stuff with relationally with people. They're like, get me out of here,
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
So having a ton of more time is not going to necessarily win everybody over. So no, there's a lot more.
Won us over.
There's just a lot more important things. If I was I'm sure, actually, I know that if I was just super enthralled with just the business, I wouldn't be married. We wouldn't have as good of a relationship as we do. Gosh, I started talking about the marriage and the relational, and Esther has completely lost interest.
I'm a little bit sidetracked.
I know,
here.
I see that.
I get very easily sidetracked.
So what do you think, though, on me commenting on the relational part of it and getting back time or getting back some sort of thing to be able to spend with people? And what do you think about me saying about entrepreneurs that sometimes don't have as good of a relationship or a relationship at all because they're so interested in just the business? What do you think about that piece? Because that would include you, obviously.
Oh boy. That was a lot of thoughts.
Well, because you were trying to say something, so I had to finish.
Okay.
You're trying to cut me off.
I was gonna say, when we first met, you were at the start of a lot of your ideas, and I mean, you'd done like we said, you'd been working on stuff since
always
a young teenager, but like your own and making and building stuff was kind of in that timeline, or maybe it was before, and I just obviously met you when I met you, so maybe I thought some stuff was new that wasn't. Anyways, but you were still able to do that and hang out with me, and we saw each other, I feel like, a lot.
Well,
not
toward
the beginning, but
when we started dating.
Yeah, when we started dating.
Technically, we never officially dated.
No, I hate when you say that.
That bothers you?
A ridiculous thing to say.
Well, it's true.
We did. We just never were like, do you want to be my girlfriend?
That's what people call that.
Whatever.
Which I wanted to do, by the way. A different story.
Anyways, and it's achievable.
Right.
You just
if you
have to have a balance. But if you aren't in a relationship,
go for it.
It depends. If you aren't in a relationship
and don't want to have,
if you aren't in a relationship and you have these ideas and grand things, fantastic. Don't have time to be distracted, so just go for it. But if that's a want of yours as well, then you still have to manage, because it's not going to happen if you throw yourself into be like, oh well, I've got time now, so might as well work on this. Well, then you're gonna have because
I wouldn't want to at this point. I wouldn't want to at this point have to look back of the last 10 years and just be like, oh, it's just these businesses that I've built and worked on. And don't get me wrong, and I would say a part of entrepreneurship is be prepared that you're your own worst critic. I feel like I've completely wasted these last 10 years in so many ways. I see people who have done...
You don't take that and cry about it. You then say, how do I make this not a waste? How do I expand?
And everyone, you can't compare your timeline to somebody else's either. I'm very happy with what I've done. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Could have been better, could have been this. It always can. And let me tell you something. Those people that you see that are doing so much more and so much better, they're thinking the exact same way. One of the things I was commenting on, guys that make a heck of a lot more money than me, were saying, oh, I feel like the business is doing horrible. They said, we're upset about it every day. And that is part of it. And you got to learn how to use that as some sort of, carrot in front of the horse, where you're like, you got to actually use that as motivation. If you can, you got to use that as motivation. I think you actually have to learn how to use that as motivation. I don't think you're going to, because if you're that person that already has that idea, like Esther was saying, the type of person that I'm answering this question to, I hope you already have that down. I hope you already have that down, that you're going to be sitting there saying, darn, this is not it. And you keep just kind of going with it. And don't let that completely tear it down. Let that be a motivator. More has happened in the last 2 years than has happened in the first 8 in these businesses. But also I started putting in, I say 10 years ago, these businesses I really started focusing in on 3-4 years ago. There's obviously a much more specific timeline that we can get into at a later date, but we will continue.
All right. Well, we need to go continue our fitness journey.
No, not yet. What time is it?
It's time.
Well, let me just see what time it is, since for some reason you want to answer. Okay. We can try to wrap this up a little bit. Do you have a closing question? Do you have a good one that's like kind of a closer? I get like 2 or 3 closing statements. So
Nah, you get one. Oh boy.
She's going through the questions. How many were there? We only got through like 3.
We got like 2 maybe, and each one had like a heading and then like sub things.
Yes. So go ahead. Just a good closer.
I don't really have a good closer on here, buddy.
You can just look as I just don't want it as long blank time. Esther's not an entrepreneur. Esther's not someone that thinks like this. So we'll get her kind of take on being married to somebody like that on a later time. But we're just so polar opposite, even more so in that field probably than any other. And I would love to have more of your take. Well, obviously I know it, but her take recorded, being married to somebody like that and how that works. Anyway, looks like you've zoned in on one there, so let's hear it.
Looks sort of deceiving. I don't have one, but I'll just read the last.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. You could have.
What values guide you in creating a meaningful and enduring entrepreneurial legacy?
The first part again?
What values guide you in creating a meaningful?
Well, first off, a solid faith foundation. Parents definitely ingrained that into me, and then it became my own. Obviously, there was no sort of like brainwashing or anything, which some people think. It's definitely thoughts of my own now. So that, what values? I guess I'm extrapolating on that word a little bit. A good circle is supportive people. Obviously, if Esther didn't want me doing this, I probably wouldn't be able to do it, and I probably wouldn't want to do it myself. I mean, that would be a which we've spoken about at length multiple times. That would be a point of contention if you really didn't want me. Contention? That if you didn't want me to do it, that would obviously be very upsetting and very sad for me. So you've obviously made it to where I can. Esther's also helped with multiple of the businesses. Values. I'll change that into a couple different things. Personality wise, probably what I'm the best at is encouraging people to do things. I mean, if teaching isn't that, what is it? You know what I'm saying? So I mean, like when I say education is the one common thread through all these things, I've taught people how to take over positions that I do. I've encouraged people to want to do it and find fun in it. I'm always able to point at the thing that's way far away out there and tell you the steps to get there to it, and have it be fun, and have it systemized, and have it be faster than before. I'm very much into systems. I'm not a mathematical guy. I'm a creative, artistic guy, which, believe it or not, can sometimes be more helpful in these problem-solving type things. People will say, find the laziest guy. That's the guy I want on this thing, because he's going to figure out the fastest way to do it. I don't view myself as a lazy person, but I'm definitely lazy in some areas. And one way that I'm lazy in is I'm not lazy. I'm lazy about being lazy. I don't want this to take forever. I want this to be done fast. I want this to be done, And so, an encourager, excitable, excited about things, happy about things. On multiple of the other podcasts that we've done, more wins than losses, those little victories stack up, and you want to be able to sit there and say, no, even though this and that, because obviously a lot of stuff has gone wrong during these entrepreneurial business startup type things, and you just got to take it and go. You got to take it. You got to keep moving. Now, don't let people walk all over you. If something goes on, definitely, I was going to say confront, but I wouldn't say confront. I would say definitely see through that issue. See it through, not see through it. See that issue through. Don't get a chip on the shoulder. Don't be upset about the issue, but don't let people walk all over you either. But then also don't hold any grudges. It's that interpersonal and emotional intelligence has to probably be the most important. So since I know we're wanting to wrap up here, I would say interpersonal and emotional intelligence is extremely, if not the most important in this. Not the solopreneur, the entrepreneur, which is usually getting systems and having people take those over and having people work with you and be excited about the thing that you're doing as well. And they're never going to be as excited as you are. Don't expect that from people. It's your idea. It's your thing. You better be working just as hard or harder than everybody else in one way or another. It doesn't mean you have to be physically putting in those hours, but people can't just think you're sitting there doing nothing. And that's the other thing. I don't want to start a bunch of businesses that I know nothing about. I want it to be inside of some field where I have knowledge that I could manage it if I wanted to. I could run every position if I needed to. And I'm not saying that I'll always have businesses like that. I might just also invest money in businesses that I don't know about, but I want to be a part of the businesses as much as I can. Esther looks very cute. She just put her hair down. Looks cute up as well, by the way.
I love that for you. Oh yeah, I was showing my cute earrings.
Oh yes. Interpersonal and emotional intelligence, and not holding on to grudges, and not just if something's gone wrong, you just have to continue moving forward. It's not and what can you do next that's going to help that issue? Because being upset about it won't help anything. Esther has wrapped up fully.
On that note, let's wrap this up. Tune in next time for hopefully more questions being answered.
Of the same of the same sort of things or something else. I don't think Esther's picking up.
You never know.
Speaking of interpersonal and emotional intelligence, I'm trying to look at Esther to have her close it and have a final statement.
I don't do that.
I know. So that's why
for a reason, because I'm not good at it.
You don't want to put a bow on it. You don't want to wrap.
Oh, if I needed to tie a bow, that I could do.
Tie a bow, a physical bow.
Yes. Okay. However, wrapping things up, making a nice exit, not my forte.
All right. Well, we just finished up scratching the surface of talking about some entrepreneur type stuff, defined the terms a little bit, entrepreneurship, solopreneur, and hopefully you learned a little bit about, I hope it was more mindset type things and kind of internal ideas and thoughts on stuff. Don't get into it just to make a bunch of money. I think you should really enjoy what you're doing. I think that's more important. And we will see you guys next time.